Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, joined by the 5'1" Wonder World, Jill Simonello. We're talking trucks tonight, talking SUVs. It's been a hot minute since we've been on. We've just had stuff going on. I'm going to say that. I wanted to talk about trucks and SUVs. Looking forward to. There's been a lot of conversations about the Ram Charger, or just call it Ram Charger. Lots of conversations about V8s coming back in Ram trucks. Conversations about will Toyota ever go back to V8 Tundra? That first was the first question. I don't think they will. Just a lot of stuff going out there that I thought, well, let's what's up? Let's talk trucks. Yeah, that's how that works. How this channel works.
Well, that's kind of what we do here.
It
and
is
you know what? I have a question for you that we haven't talked about.
Okay.
No, so one of my Rebel friends and her husband is thinking about buying a Ram Rebel.
Okay.
And, Kristen and I drove the RHO and the Rebel, and, we had thoughts on weight. We trained in the Rebel. But she specifically asked about towing, and I'm like, I have never towed this vehicle. I have no thoughts on towing in the Ram Rebel.
Okay.
And so before we get into anything else that you want to talk about, I wanted to remember to ask you that question and talk about towing in the Ram Rebel.
So the story goes with off-road trucks that have that kind of equipment, you still get a decent towing amount. Like the RHO is like 8,000 pounds. I don't know the Rebel off the top of my head. So you still get a decent amount of towing. You tend to have less payload because you have more equipment on the vehicle. And so, and you're not going to do the max towing like the half ton has, like 12,000 pounds, whatever it is. But you can still tow. It's not as good of an experience as you would a stock truck because the springs are different and the suspension is different and the wheels are different, and so you'll have a little bit different experience. But it's totally doable. Like for example, we're looking at campers currently ourselves, and we're going to tow the RHO. And I know that I'm going to sacrifice some of the smoother towing experience at RHO because I'm going to weight that down in the softer suspension, and that's what it's going to be. Now that's a sport truck. The Rebel is not a sports truck, and it's more of just an off-road version of a Ram truck. So it's totally possible. You're just going to find camper selection is going to be a little more limited. You're going to want to think about overall weight. Because you don't have the most robust payload numbers and towing numbers like you would with a standard F-150 or standard Ram 1500. Get the right brand, Tim, right brand. But I mean, yeah, and there's a lot of guys who have done stuff with airbags and those do help level the bed off and level the ride off. I put the airbags on my Silverado just because I wanted to. I've never done it before, and it did help with the towing. It doesn't increase your towing capacity. It doesn't increase your payload capacity. But yeah, it's. I don't know if I can give you an example that makes sense, but it's you can do it.
You can do it, but it's not as comfortable, and you can't tow as much, is what I'm hearing you say.
Basically, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and the comfort thing is really subjective. I know some people that just tow with the Rebels and they have no problems. They just think it's not a big deal. I've known other people that are like, yeah, it's this Rebel. I've towed other things and it's not as good as this. It's all subjective. The big thing that I have, especially in our area, is the wind. And that's why campers are tough for us. Is I don't like going over 30 feet because you have that much more of a profile on the side of the camper that pushes that around. And I know I have a soft suspension anyways. So yeah, it's kind of one of those questions about how's that going to affect it. But again, where you're towing at, they're all different. There's just different variables involved. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. That's kind of weird. I didn't expect that.
Well, you said we're talking trucks, so I'm like,
I know. I was ready to talk about this. I was talking about this first, and then you. Yeah. So St. Patty's Day is Monday. Monday, St. Patty's Day. And I have a new sponsor who sent me this container. It's 2 Stacks is the name of the company, Irish whiskey, and that's called the First Cut, the signature blend. And what's really unique with this whiskey is first it's Irish, and the second thing is it's bonded, which press release is 3 pages long. I read the press release about a few different times. So the idea here, and I never knew this, is that there are recognized whiskey bonders in Ireland. A bonder is somebody who takes whiskeys and they take different varieties from different distilleries and they bond them together, whether that means they're going to add more maybe age a little longer, maybe add more stuff to it. So this one has 5 blends, and it has a little packaging on it. You can't see if you're listening to podcasts, but little packaging on it actually shows you which blends there are that blended together and how much of each. And so this has.
I'm drinking water because somebody didn't share.
I'm sorry, I didn't give you one. I apologize for that one. The blend comprises of 2 40% single grain whiskey. One is aged in former Kentucky bourbon casks. The other one was aged in virgin American oak casks. It has 8% pot still whiskey, aged in Oloroso sherry casks. That's the best way I can say it. A 10% double distilled malt whiskey, aged in former Kentucky bourbon casks, and 2% peated malt whiskey, aged in former Kentucky bourbon casks. And so it brings all these flavors together. Apparently, this is what I'm supposed to taste. Here we go. I'm supposed to taste the first, according to the founders, was three guys, which I think they're the guys are in these videos. So we're gonna put this. So yeah, you can see the video on the screen. It's from their website. According to the founders, the first cut signature blend brings melted butter, peach, and a hint of black tea and brown sugar on the nose. Seeded bread, a hint of toasty oak, butterscotch, and blackberry greet the palate, followed by a long finish with a plenty of honeyed warmth. Yeah, it's just interesting. They're expanding into the U.S. markets, now 19 markets. Plan is to go national distribution by the end of the year. $37.99 for the bottle. And then,
I know you got a wee dram.
I have a wee dram. this is
like Diet Green for St. Patty's Day. Well, you have a green dram.
Yeah, it's a signature dram. It's basically the bottle in the can, which I don't know how much you get, 100 milliliters. So when you want to be on the go, you can take this with you, and you can have your whiskey with you. And it's so cool because it's a dram, a little smaller can. You don't have to share because it's too small. I'm sorry. I didn't bring enough for you. It's all mine. So
I don't know, that looks like bigger than, like, more than 2 shots. That's like more than 2 fingers of whiskey there.
But yeah, I don't know. I actually, I should. I'm not going to open this tonight, but I will open this at some point because I'm really curious. The dram in the can, which I thought was handy. Yeah.
Dram in a can.
No, it is dram in a can. It's canned whiskey. Yeah, it's canned whiskey. Of all, this is just. I can see party goers grabbing this stuff, or whatever, on the go. I mean, it is interesting. So, anyways, I have been sampling this because I'm not a huge Irish whiskey kind of person. It's sometimes too hot for me.
They sent that to the wrong person then, because I actually like Irish whiskey.
Okay, so sorry. But I have had it over a little bit of ice, and it seems like it's fine. A little bit of ice, and it just cuts the heat a little bit. So I'm smelling. What the hell they said? I don't know what I'm smelling. I can't remember.
What do you smell? You shouldn't be reading the press release to say what you smell.
I know. I'm working on it. I'm not sure.
You're like putting snot in
no, I'm not snotting my dick. I can, yeah, I can, some smokiness to it. I can get that little peach to it. A seeded bread? I'm not sure. I don't understand seeded bread. I don't know. Again, as we discussed last live stream, Jill's got much better palate than I do, and I do not. But with the ice, it's nice. It is nice. All right, so. Oh, there we go. I was going to remove that. All right. That's the discussion of the dram in a can. All right.
I find that to be hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I want to make this up because again, St. Patrick's Day.
And I'm wearing green in honor of St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, there you go. Yep. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. And the bottle is 100% recycled glass, and they use solar power to power their distillery.
Okay, but Ireland doesn't get a lot of sun.
Okay, let's not facts get in the way. They're doing a good job with the solar power.
I'm just gonna put that out there. I lived in England for a year. It did not, the sun did not shine very much there.
I don't want to get off topic because because every time I know I'm watching a British show when the sun's not out. You can tell. All right, what do we got? We got discussions about Ram bringing back the V8. So I happened to talk to Ram this week while I was at an event, and it was right after this thing came out. I don't know if you saw this, Jill. Sportsnot had a thing on it, which we actually know Sportsnot because they are part of our new ad provider. There's an email. Let me see. Might find the Sportsnot.
And that's Sports NAUT, right?
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking not KNOT, not NOT. I don't know, but it took me a while to figure out that it was like Sports NAU, like T or something like that. But at any rate, I'm gonna see if
they have this image. Here it is. I will put it on the screen for you guys. So this is what people are talking about. I just saw my friends over at TFL did a whole video on it because I don't know if they didn't see the news or not. Oh, there's an ad. I'll take the ad down. All right. So they decided to say another sign that Dodge returned to NASCAR. I'm like, oh God, Lord. It's been Ram forever, guys. All right. Anyways, Dodge is coming back to NASCAR. Okay. But what they did was if you scroll down, there's a screenshot of this email, and I have these names I don't know. Steve Breckner, Jim Breckner, Brian, whatever, these guys' names. It was a virtual go-to-market meeting looking for 13% of growth and market share. And it says, seems ambitious. But anyways, it says Ram, the 5.7-liter Hemi will be back in the 1500s. Express and Warlock packages in DT body style, which is their, which I believe is their quad cab body style, the extended cab. TRX is coming back with more power. Ram Rev is delayed. Ram Charger 1500 moving up. 6.4 liter will be available in 1500 trim levels, which is interesting because I don't know if that's ever been the case. Night Edition and Warlock heavy duties, Power Wagon diesel, and back to NASCAR Truck Series. And it's got some more about Dodge last year for Durango, Hornet GLH model, Chrysler Pacifica FAV model, altitude package essentially. 5,392 Wranglers to be built. Recon Q4 for Jeep. Unlocking content on Wrangler and Gladiator instead of something. Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer MSRP reduced. And new Cherokee Job 1 in October. Realized they lost many obvious take. So that's what the email says. Now,
so what's interesting is, and what makes this believable is the fact that some of these things have already come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
With the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer price being reduced, and with the Ram Rev being delayed and the Ram Charger moving up, so I would have said the Hemi is never coming back. But I mean, interesting.
Yeah, so I had two different conversations, and unfortunately, I have to say that they're anonymous because it was off the record conversations. So one of the guys who works on a lot of the vehicles that they offer said, "Isn't it obvious? We need to have the V8. Like it's a dumb decision. Our past leader didn't like it. We all wanted it, so that obviously we're going to make it back." Okay. Another guy who works on non-product stuff said, "Things are going well. Our sales are doing well. So why do we need to bring it back? We're already selling a lot of Hurricanes." And he said, "How do you like your Hurricane?" Because the RHO I have is a Hurricane. I said, "I freaking love it. The thing's a monster. It's awesome. It's way faster than Hemi is. And even though it sounds like crap, but it's a great powertrain." So it's a twofold situation there. What I find interesting is a 6.4 being available in 1500s, which I don't recall that being available. I thought they'd bring the Hemi back like in a Bighorn Tradesman or maybe a Laramie or something. And then they'd keep the high end models like the Tungsten would stay with the Hurricane, which is similar to what Ford did. I basically kind of told one of my guys, the sources there, I was like, you should follow what Ford does. Ford offers the 5.0 liter V8 in the base trim levels. The higher trim levels are the high output EcoBoost. And then I said, then they offer the Raptor and the high output EcoBoost. Then they offer the Raptor R, 30 grand more, and a supercharged 6.2 liter. I said, to me, the TRX would be perfect at 30 grand more for the big supercharged V8. You have the money to pay the fines for any sort of cafe issues you run into. And if you're offering customers choice. Now, is $30,000 a lot of money? Yeah, it's a lot of money for that truck.
Probably going to be more. Maybe.
Right, but at least you're offering that to consumers. You're offering them both, right? So I think it's a possibility. I would be surprised at the speed if it comes out that quickly. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot more testing being involved to get that done. But that's what we know right now today. As far as that is the leaked email, that's all the details we have. I think it's interesting going back to the NASCAR thing. So I saw a screenshot that had the Ram truck NASCAR going back to NASCAR, and then down below it had basically a graphic. It looked like a graphic showing the TRX coming back bigger, badder, more powerful. So I don't know how you make the TRX more powerful. Maybe there's a way to do it, but it was interesting.
708 horsepower.
Right. Well, and I kind of said while I was there at the event, I was like, you guys are so confusing because on the one hand, you're pumping out the Hurricane, talking about how great that is. You had the RHO stuff going out, and then you're talking about the Ram Rev, E-Rev, the Ram Charger. I'm gonna just say Ram Charger. And then you're talking about a V8. So are you going to have 3 different engines in your lineup? The Pentastar V6, the Hurricane Inline 6, and then a Hemi as well. And then some of the trucks now are going to be built in Mexico, which also impacts the tariff stuff. And then they're going to build the Ram Charger in Michigan, but and send more of the Ram 1500 production down to Mexico. So, the Ram. I talked to one guy on a Facebook, whatever. He's like, "Well, you should buy a Ram because it won't have any tariffs." I'm like, "That's not really true. it's you got to be telling where they're at and where they're built. It's just confusing to cover these guys because it seems like there's so much chaos in the world right now, but they have a lot of chaos going on in their company. Things are changing so quickly."
Yeah, and I mean, to pile on to the chaos, you've got tariffs on supplier parts, tariffs on steel, tariffs on, that are going to be implemented, and so even though you may not pay like 25% on the overall price of the vehicle, like the manufacturer is going to be paying 25% of an increase on parts and things that so it may like find its way ultimately into the price of the vehicle, just maybe not $10,000, but maybe just $4,000. But I everything is so confused right now, and they're confused. Like automakers are confused and don't know what to do because they're like, well, is President Trump kidding? Is he gonna delay them indefinitely, or is he serious? Like, should we start making plans for a 25% tariff? Or, is it going to be indefinitely delayed?
Yeah, and the interesting part I just found out with Ram as well is they just launched Ram trucks in Italy. And so they're trying to go global, which that Hurricane engine is much better globally.
Yeah.
And those areas that have different emissions than the Hemi. I mean, the Hemi doesn't meet emission standards globally. So who the hell knows?
No, and so I feel like I've been following Hyundai, which obviously doesn't have like a large pickup truck, but one of the things that they've been doing is they kind of have this strategy of a powertrain for everyone. And so, they have a very interesting mix of gas vehicles, plug-in hybrids, and electric vehicles. Now they don't have a V8, but I think that automakers hedging their bets are going to have to start doing a multifaceted plan that can adjust. So, okay, they're going to have a Hemi, they're going to have a 6-cylinder, and they're going to have a plug-in hybrid, and they're going to think about the electric, but they're going to like start with this 3-pronged strategy, maybe, and then like if electric vehicles start to take off, then they can pivot quickly. I just think that's the way automakers are going to have to set themselves up, is they have to kind of set it up so that, okay, we've got these 3 things, and then we could pivot over here if we have to, pivot over here if we have to. And I just, so it wouldn't like, given the current climate, it wouldn't surprise me. Like before Trump was elected, I would have said, no way is the Hemi coming back. Yeah. But now I'm just like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's definitely keeping us on our toes as journalists because we're reading stuff as much as you guys are. Becky, thank you for the shout out there. She loves her channel. And Tyler brings up the same point we brought up. I don't understand bringing it back in what form. They spent so much money in engineering time in inline six, and then you toss that out, and then
I don't think you toss out the inline six. I think it's and also
right. And then what happens with like Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer? So do they get a V8 now too?
No, I think Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer would probably stay with the inline six because that was how it was created. It never had a Hemi V8.
Yeah. But
and I don't even know if they would put the Hemi back in the Dodge, like the Dodge Charger, because I know a lot of people, want that, but I don't. That's going to get the six pack. It's going to get a 6-cylinder, but I don't know.
Yeah, this is a good point. I can't. Pension says, I can't imagine a full-size pickup being successful in Europe. Normal gas price is like $5-6 a gallon, and that's why the only people that drive trucks over there are the ones that use them to make money. It's interesting. There's actually a German dealership over there outside of Berlin that imports Hemi engines, and I asked him if he converts them to some sort of different fuel or whatever. He goes, no, we want the V8 sound. We're going to put gas in it. We don't care what the price of gas is. And I was like, okay. So it was interesting as well. I did this, I don't know, a news recap on this, but I found my friend in Germany sent me a magazine, a video of a magazine, of an automotive magazine, and on the cover was a Ram truck, and inside the magazine was a 2-page spread that was reviewing the Ram truck in German. So.
In some ways, it's kind of the same conversation that you and I have. In Chicago, a full-size truck doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
In Nebraska, a full-size truck makes sense. So, if you're living in a city in Europe, it's not really going to make sense. But if you're on a farm, if you are in a rural area, there are rural areas in Europe. Not all of it is developed.
Right. Yeah.
It could make sense. And I know, like, when I've done overseas programs, I probably see one, maybe full-size truck on the road the entire time. Like if I'm there for a week, maybe one. Usually if I see a truck, it's a midsize, and it's probably the Honda Ridgeline.
Yeah. Brandon says the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer did have a Hemis their first year.
Did they?
I don't know. Huh.
I honestly don't remember that.
I can't recall that either. Maybe he's probably right on fans.
Yes,
we're not
you
going to argue with
totally
you.
Right. It's been a long time since like 2020 when I first saw the Grand Wagoneer. And a lot of shit has happened since then.
Feels like it aged like 10 years since then. James wants to know why not have options. Ford has many engine options up F-150, so does GM, and that's what we're saying. Like, so then you offer the 2.7, like GM does. They offer the 2.7 mostly for fleets, 5.3 for a lot of those for the base trucks. The 6.2 liter, which I have right now in the Yukon, for a gas engine of a more premium engine, and then they have the 3-liter diesel that's just now order banks have opened up. So they're offering different choices. I just think with the Ram, it's going to be interesting how they put all the choices together and what makes sense. How do you package things together? And what, I think Bighorn Tradesman definitely could do a Hemi. I just think in the Tungsten, I don't think I think that customer is different. And that goes to the truck market. It's so spread. It's so from a tradesman guy, work truck guy, to a luxury buyer. It's a huge difference in customer and what you're building vehicles for. So,
and I just want to confirm that Brandon is correct. You can't really see it because of the reflection, but the Wagoneer did originally launch with a Hemi.
Yeah. So then that's the other thing I was thinking about was, if Ram or Stellantis, whatever you want, or Stellantis parent company, brings back the Hemi, they need to put it in a variety of vehicles to make it make sense. Just like GM does with the Yukon, the Tahoe, the Escalade, the Silverado, the Sierra. They have multiple vehicles for the engine.
But I think and the Durango is going away, and the Durango had the Hemi.
Yeah, but they don't have a real 3-row body and a unibody replacement. Yeah, I don't know. It's just this, guys. We're reporting on this stuff as much as we possibly can because it's confusing us too. We're reading all the stuff.
Well, and I can't even remember what I was listening to or who was saying it, but they were very much saying that with it could have been Auto News with the Daily Drive, where they were talking about how Stellantis, they have a lot of brands. I Don't know why 17 is in my head, but I don't think it's 17 brands.
I think it's 13 or 15.
Maybe it's 15 brands. And they have a lot of brands, and they're like, but why do you have a brand with one vehicle? Why do you have a brand with two vehicles? And they're like, but if you put the minivan under Dodge, would it sell? Or if you put like a sedan in the Chrysler lineup, is that going to sell? And so they're like, why do you need that? Jeep and Ram are the money makers. Why not develop those portfolios and, really just make those the primary function, and then everything else kind of could go away.
I think when I visited with teams at Stellantis and these media drives, I think that's how they view it. I think that's how they view it. I think the Jeep team feels like they are their own silo of people. I think the Ram team feels like their own silo of people. Remember the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer came out and they weren't called Jeeps?
Yeah.
I feel like they were trying to create their own like brand. I mean,
they were definitely trying to create a sub brand.
Yeah. And so I feel that brand is a collection of like free agents to playing for a team. It's not like one cohesive team, which is why you probably get some weird stuff here and there on different packaging and things, just because it doesn't make sense. So we've talked Ram to death, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're talking more about Ram. I guess what else we're interested in? I'm interested in seeing what happens with the Silverado and Sierra. So we ran a video that said spy photos, and GM Authority said 2027. The Spy Tracker said 2027, but I'm already seeing spy photos out there. And typically, when you see spy photos, it's months away.
Well, I think they'll be revealed in 2026, but and it could be revealed in January of 2026. I mean, there is an auto show in Detroit in January.
There is.
But it could be launched in 2026 as a 2027 model that comes out early.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Ford F-150 is delayed, so I'd like to see the GM twins. And I interviewed an engineer, which people got that video really right or really wrong. I just was trying to ask really basic engineering questions, not related to RAM at all. But people are like, "Oh my God, RAM, whatever." But he made a really interesting point. He said, if there is a part that's out of spec, they can recall the vehicle right away. They can get the part fixed. That's easy. But if there's a design issue, that's usually you got to wait for next model year refresh to have happen, or whatever refresh to happen. So there has been historically a problem with GM seats, and you and I have talked about this to death for a while. But I think you and I've noticed this is that when they brought the new versions of like the Acadia or the new Traverse out or the new trains coming out, the seats have become a lot better. Tahoe seats are better. Yukon seats are better. Mm-hmm. So I can't. To me, that's the Achilles heel of the GM twins is the seats.
Yeah.
And so I think if they do those seats right, like I just drove 3 hours home on Monday with the Yukon. Actually, it drove me in a way. I know Joe Fetter, our colleague, is just going to take me to task. There's no self-driving vehicles. I sat there and I sat there like this, and it was nice. For 3 hours it drove, or the hands-free worked as clear as I can say. So I think it's fantastic. I think their interiors are much better. I love the powertrains. I know they've had a lifter issue on the V8s. I get it. But I feel like they're taking care of that issue as they can, as they're working through supplier problems or whatever's going on with that. The 3-liter diesel is a favorite engine of mine. The 2.7 is a really good engine for even a 4-cylinder for full-size truck. It's crazy how good that is for 4 cylinders. And I just feel like they have a lot of stuff going for them. I like the looks of them. I like the technology they have in the cabin. I think they could make a big impact if those seats were better.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, I posted an article this week about what's new in the 2025 GM Sierra, and I made some predictions about what's coming in the next generation. And, obviously we'll see more technology. We'll see hopefully upgraded seats, probably some design changes, some evolutionary changes, but nothing completely drastic. People don't want to see drastic changes, I don't think, in their favorite truck. But my biggest prediction that I've made is I think that they will remove Apple CarPlay.
Ooh. So a little backstory on this. They have done this on the EVs, and Jill has covered this I'm going to say the word extensively. Do you think that's? I think that's extensively.
Well, I've been pretty much banned from General Motors vehicles, so yeah, I would say I've been covering it extensively.
But we don't get banned from vehicles. We're on this gravy train. Don't you remember? We get paid by GM to say
Only
these words.
if you say
whatever.
nice things. Apparently.
Yeah, that's apparently that's what we're supposed to do. They've done away with CarPlay. They have their reasons, which I'm going to say we as journalists don't agree with. I can't find one journalist who agrees with our stuff.
Oh, I wrote an article. There was Inside EVs wrote, no, you don't need Apple CarPlay.
Oh, yeah, that was a
bullshit.
Yeah, that was
I'm calling bullshit.
That was a bad article. He was really trying hard to make sense. We're all like, no.
General Motors.
Yeah, that was not a good article by him. So I don't like it. I like CarPlay. I like CarPlay a lot. I've been and the thing is interesting in the Yukon. I haven't found a fast. What do I say? I haven't found a quick switch button to CarPlay. I'm still playing around with the screen. I drove home Monday. I was really tired, and I've driven around town a little bit. I actually right now have it hooked up to the trailer with a Polaris Ranger on. I'm going to go play around tomorrow, and I haven't found a way to switch back and forth between the regular home apps and SiriusXM and quickly over to CarPlay yet. And I'm sure
there wasn't in the side menu. I thought there was like a little.
Yeah, I need to. I'm gonna look at it one more time because I was looking at it and I was doing.
And again, haven't been in a GM vehicle for a while. Right. So I can't say for sure.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's I got to figure that one out. P. Don, whatever his name is, drives same. He says he was in a Tahoe LT for 10 days, national park trip in Big Sky area. Oh, beautiful part of the country. 2,100 miles in the vehicle. Holy crap, you drove. Drivetrain was awful. Seats were awful. Backache at the end of every day. Yep, that's exactly right. I've seen people actually buy GM vehicles and then they go to Walmart or O'Reilly's or Advance or whatever. They get the little silicone kind of pad that's got the little things to keep put on their butt. Yeah, I've seen quite a bit. Yeah. So and Tyler points out, don't hate the V8s, but I think GM needs to replace the 5.3 and 6.2, and they are. There's a 6th generation of the V8s coming out for GM, and the reason they're able to do that other brands can't do that, which people don't always understand. GM sells cars and they sell EVs, and it allows them to offer V8 still because they have a big lineup. I think people always think that the EPA hates V8s, and the EPA doesn't hate V8s. They just put out a metric for what we want automakers to meet for air quality, and every automaker has their own way of doing it, and they can do different things, and cars do help. If you sell cars,
General Motors doesn't sell cars,
but they sell electric vehicles.
Okay, but still no cars.
Right. And then
I'm like, the Camaro, I think, was their last car.
Oh, that's right. They just killed the Malibu.
Yeah. And the Malibu is gone. Yeah.
Take that back. Toyota.
Toyota has a large complement of vehicles, but no V8.
Yeah. Hope they get rid of some of the activation junk. That's not going to happen. I said I bitched about some of the activation once to a GM engineer, and he about took me outside, kicked my ass. He was so mad about it. He was so pissed because I said, "Doesn't that stuff consume oil?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah." He was very mad at me. So yeah, especially the 5.3. It is so old. It's people. It's funny. There's two different types of people online right now. I've decided. Well, there's multiple types of people, but there are those people that say the 5.3 V8 is good enough for me. 300 horsepower, fine. I don't need any more. And there's other people that say, I want the baddest, coolest looking, fastest engine out there. And they look at that 5.3 liter and they say, 300 horsepower, who cares about that? It's like, I want more. And so you have these two different spectrums of customers, and they're currently fighting it out in the forums and Facebook groups and stuff. And I think they both are right. I mean, we're at a point now where somebody was talking about they were doing a tune on the RHO to make it even more horsepower and torque. And I was like, 540 horsepower and 520 pound-feet of torque is not enough for you? Like, I'm sorry. I don't need more. I'm fine. I would like to pass more gas stations instead of passing vehicles on the road, but I'm fine. But it's people still want more. And so I think that's the biggest reason why GM needs to make some changes. I think a fresh V8 would help with the concerns over lifters, because you would assume that they've solved that issue, and a fresh V8 would probably have more horsepower and torque. And Mark Royce, GM's president, yeah. He said the new engines have like 10% more performance and better fuel economy, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out. So we have GM trucks. We have Ford being delayed. I was hoping Ford would come out F-150 because it's always fun to watch Ford do stuff. They're always evolutionary. Like sometimes it's year by year. Like they're constantly adding stuff. They really focus on that truck quite a bit. So we have nothing from them. And Toyota needs to update the Tundra. And I did a video on this. I think I proclaimed as 2026 model. I want them to fix the seat cracking issue. I want them to fix the front end so you can put tow hooks on it. I want them to address. I put a variety of issues out there I thought they could address, and then I think they need to bring the Trail Hunter out. Like the Trail Hunter was teased, and then Tacoma got it, 4Runner got it, and then Tundra didn't get it.
Yeah,
and it was
I agree.
Yeah, so I think I'm hopeful we'll see some stuff with that. So that's full size, midsize. Wow, everything's gotten new in midsize.
But I'm wondering when Dodge is actually, or Ram is actually going to bring out the new midsize Dakota or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah, it's been, you and I have talked about this for how many years now? 4 or 5.
I'm like, how long have I been working with you?
Yeah, it's been
5 years.
It's constant. It's a constant rumor mill. It's like you hear little snippets here and there.
But I think they did, like, wasn't one of the promises to the union that they would build the midsize Ram truck in Illinois?
Yep, in Belvedere, Illinois.
Yeah.
So, and then they pushed that back by a year, and the UAW lost their shit over it, which is understandable from the UAW standpoint. But yeah, they're promising to build a midsize truck at the Belvedere plant, which is part of the concessions they made when they made an agreement with the union. Was it 2 years ago that strike happened? Yeah, I think about 2 years ago. And
again, a lot has happened.
So
I'm lucky I know where I live.
Right. Apparently you live in a library, but that's all right. So she's got tons of books behind her. But yeah, I think that it makes sense. It's time. I remember doing the Jeep Gladiator update story, and the union boss at the plant in Toledo was like, look, we know it's not competitive. We know it needs to be better, and we need to get more out there. So internally, I think the union's talking about that, and I think they need that. The midsize truck market, last time I talked to a CEO of Ram, which was Chris Fuel, she goes, that's the hottest market in the country right now is midsize trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact they don't have something is just so crazy at this point of the game. But so we got Tacoma was new, Colorado was new, GMC Canyon was new, Jeep Gladiator is getting some updates, nothing big there. Honda Ridgeline has HBD package. They haven't really done anything there. Yeah, I like the bronze wheels, but it's beyond that. It's not anything.
The bronze wheels are my least favorite part of that.
Yeah. Okay, you hate those. So that I could see the Honda Ridgeline being refreshed. I really could.
The Honda Ridgeline and the Nissan Frontier, I think, are definitely the ones. The
Frontier just got updated with a new styling of the IP and a little bit different fate. I don't know. Let me pull a photo up that and get you guys' take on this, because I saw it and I showed my dad. I was sitting next to him in Michigan when it came out, and I did not like it. I wasn't a fan. I just drove one. Let me see if this has got. No, that must be is it 25 or 24? It's 25. Yeah, it's this. So do this. I just drove one, and it just felt cheap to me. So it kind of has the orange handles. I like the orange grab handles. I was fine with that, but it's got Frontier spelled out below the screen. Mm-hmm. And I know you and I have talked about lettering on vehicles. I know you like the Tundra.
I like it in front of the passenger. I don't think I like it underneath the infotainment screen.
Yeah, and I just felt like everything else was still kind of cheap in the vehicle. And the 4-liter V6 engine is good, and I know people like it because it's not turbocharged, but it definitely feels slow when you compare it to the other vehicles out there. Yeah, it's not new, Elliot. I agree. It's not new. It's just the way the screen's set up, the bigger screen, and then the Frontier down below. And I don't know if I can find. Let's see if I can find the Nissan Frontier exterior.
But I mean, like the engine was a carryover from the previous generation. Like it needs a refresh.
I think it needs a full on. I agree, like a full
And
on.
wasn't it 2019 that they did that?
Yeah. So the story is that they replaced the powertrain because they had to. Suppliers were like, we gotta get going. We stopped building their engine. We got to move. And Nissan was waiting to do a full model refresh, like reveal, but they kept delaying it because they had all those leadership issues. See if that sounds familiar, Ram. Leadership issues going on that pushed it around, and so they basically were forced in the corner to bring this powertrain out. But I don't know. I just maybe I'm not a fan of the orange. Maybe a different color would do it for me. I don't know. It's just so Tyler says the Frontier is solid, but it still feels kind of old and has heavy steering. Nothing about it just doesn't doesn't make a big deal. It just doesn't. I don't know. It seems odd to me. So I'm surprised they did that one. So that was the Frontier. Looking down on top of my head, nothing really new there. I think the big news that should be in the compact truck segment. Like, where the hell are the competitors?
Yeah, well, we've been hearing rumors about Toyota bringing a compact truck based on like the Corolla Cross platform, so small unibody. We've heard Chevrolet, is maybe going to bring out a compact truck. I don't know. Where are the competitors?
Yeah, the Maverick is running away from it. I mean, they do have a new Lobo version. Which you're going to Media Drive for the Lobo version? Yeah. So you saw the Lobo, and I can go drive it. That is their street truck version of a Ford Maverick.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Which, by the way, a little tangent. I saw a Ford Maverick today. It pulled into my driveway. I was outside hooking up trailers and such, and my neighbor actually came over right when they kind of pulled in. And this couple gets out, and they come and approach me, and it's an older couple, and she's got a map, like a true Rand McNally gas station map, right? And it turns out they're from Canada, and they're trying to get back home.
Huh.
And they needed directions. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of gave them directions, and my neighbor walks over, and then they leave, and they have a good trip. I hope they made it where they want to go. I gave them easiest directions I could, and he's like, yeah, the license plate says Saskatchewan. I can't say the word.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah. So yeah, they're Canada's. They're from Canada, and they were trying to avoid Denver. They were trying to avoid Rapid City. They were trying to do the back roads and avoid the big cities. All right, so they're basically gonna go across Nebraska, up through Torrington, Wyoming, northeast through Wyoming, then along the western side of South Dakota, very western side, then straight north out of Rapid City, up to the border. But I was like, you're driving a Ford Maverick, which is honestly, I'm not sure what version it was. I didn't look at the badging, and I don't know if it's a hybrid or whatever version it was. But I'm like, it's really fuel efficient. Got plenty of cargo room for your gear in the back, and for you two, it's probably easy to drive. So I was like, I had a good time. Yeah, so it was interesting going into that. And speaking of the other competitor, the Santa Cruz, can you review a Santa Cruz with a non-turbo? I don't think I've ever seen a non-turbo in the press fleet or even heard of anybody driving it. So I don't think they've ever been, and I don't have any Hyundai like Sunday dealerships near me, so I can't really check it out. Sorry. That's what I got.
Lo siento. Yes. Yeah. No, did I even drive one at the press launch? Yeah. I don't even remember, because usually they give us the biggest, the best,
right.
So I don't remember. Again, it was a really long time ago.
Any news on the Ram Rampage? Speaking of compact truck, so the Ram Rampage actually would be a compact truck competitor like Ford Maverick and Santa Cruz, and because they can't get their ducks in a row currently on what's going on in the Ram, I think, and they haven't got the ducks in a row on the midsize truck, I can't imagine the Ram Rampage is anywhere near close to coming to the United States. I cannot think it. Oh, this is interesting. We have a foreign viewer, and I'm not sure I can answer this question, but I just want to put it out there for you guys in the audience. It says, hey, good night. Okay. I have a Fiat Argo 1.3 hatchback, looking to sell it and buy a 1995 to 2004 Toyota Hilux so I can move motorcycles on the back. Is it worth to downgrade the years for that truck? Oh, his Fiat Argo must be more newer. He is from Mendoza, Argentina. Nice.
Hi.
So, hi. I can't answer that for you. I've never actually driven a Toyota Hilux for that area, and we don't really cover foreign-made vehicles. But I wanted to. I know Jill's looking at this. A Fiat Argo. I'm gonna look that up. I kind of want to know what that is. A Fiat.
Well, so I mean, just generally speaking, while you're looking that up, the one thing that I will say is, Toyotas around the world generally have the reputation for being bulletproof. And if I were going to buy a vehicle that was older, I would say Toyota is a good bet.
Yeah.
Now you're going to sacrifice like modern amenities, like safety features and like backup cameras and things like that. So my husband and I are currently looking for a new car. Our GTI is about ready to bite the dust. And we were looking at like 2009 to 2013. And we test drove a couple, and my husband and I just ultimately decided, living in the city, like we got to have a backup camera. And so like we have to look at essentially 2016 or newer. So it just depends on what your tolerance is for new features and technology. Because I mean, I'm trying to remember, because that was right around the time when I first started writing about cars. That's going to be a very basic truck.
Yeah, it's going to be very basic. But I would say this. I have a Fiat Argo pulled up, and he says it's that one.
Okay.
So that reminds me of your GTI a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
It's got that same kind of size, like footprint, different styling, but it's the similar size. So I'm always going to tell you to swap the SUV out for a truck.
And I'm always going to say keep the hatchback.
And Jill's always going to say keep the hatchback. So yeah, I would. I don't think it's. I don't know if I'd see it as a downgrade for the years of that truck. I mean, like Jill's pointed out, Hilux has been notoriously reliable worldwide and lots of parts availability. I would do it. But I don't cover your market that much. But thanks for commenting. That's interesting. So, and then wrapping things up from the EV side, there's going to be a new Silverado Trail Boss, because that's based on the ZR2, the ZR2 EV race truck they just won the Mint 400 with. Ford Lightning is going to keep soldiering along. I don't see many changes there. GMC Sierra is still rolling out. Rivian is, I just had a Rivian a couple weeks ago, and it is really fun. Really expensive, but really fun. And Cybertruck is still selling to the what was it? The police force in Las Vegas now have Cybertrucks. So big future for those guys.
The big selling point for a Cybertruck is apparently, maybe it's too soon. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Skid he has more comments. He goes, yes, the backup camera is really useful. I currently live in Mendoza because I'm studying a degree and I have 2 years left, but my family has a motorcycle business in my hometown, 200 miles away. Huh. Yeah. Well, good job on your keep studying, buddy. I have a degree. Jill's got a degree. Jill's got multiple degrees. And so, yeah, education is good. So in midsize
motorcycle business, 200 miles away. So that's like 3 hours from where he's at.
Yeah.
Again, depends on modern amenities versus the use case for the vehicle.
Yeah, but he's young. If you're studying degree and you're young, man, bare bones. Yeah. You get a little older and it's like, I really want, I've had some back issues and stuff. I've been in physical therapy for a while, chiropractor, all that stuff I've been doing. But I love the massage button on trucks now. Heated seat with massage. This Yukon I have I think it's probably $15,000 more than the TRX or the RHO I have, and it has no massage button. And I'm like, what the hell? I can't even drive this. It's killing me. All right. Elliot wants to know one more question before we move on to SUVs. Do you think the compact truck segment is seen as too difficult to compete in since the Maverick is a big hit? Kind of like how Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen don't have a full-size body-on-frame truck. Okay,
so I don't think Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen have a full-size body-on-frame truck because of the chicken tax.
Yeah.
But
I don't think.
You know what? I think if Chevrolet or Ram came out with a competitor, I think they could take a huge chunk away. I mean, learn from what Ford did with the Maverick, and then make it better. improve on the use case, make your seats comfortable. And, I think that they could create a whole new segment. I mean, again, living in a city, when the last time I had the Maverick and I was parked on the street for a hot minute before I was doing something, some guy literally pulled up next to me and he was like, "What is that? And where can I get one?" He's like, this is the perfect size truck and I want it. And I was just like, "Oh, okay. You can't have this one. And I've got my doors locked." So, Ford dealership, Ford Maverick, it's new, because I feel like it was when I was still living in our house. So it would have been like 2023, I think, so the Maverick was still really relatively new. But I think they would kill it in a city. And I mean, since then, I've seen a lot of Mavericks in Chicago that have, like, when we were at the truck show, many moons ago, we saw like the Maverick builds with the, backs and the shelves and the like all of the cool work trucky things. And I see a ton of those in Chicago now. So I just think that, if either of the Detroit three, the remaining Detroit three brought a compact pickup truck to market, I think they have the potential to kill it. I really think they would do an amazing job. I think Chevrolet or General Motors is probably in a better position to do that because they have more of their ducks in a row than
Ram does. Yeah.
Ram. If Toyota came out with a truck, I don't know that it would be as much of a competitor, depending on what they did to the design. I think one of the reasons why the Maverick is so successful is because it looks like a mini, like it's a little mini me. It's a little mini F-150, whereas the Santa Cruz is more of a sport truck, like beachy, lifestyle-y. And so, like, if Toyota went that direction, I don't know that it would be as successful. But if they went more like, trail hunter, I think that it would have potential as well if they made it very like off-roady with some good ground clearance. So I think that segment is just ripe for competition.
I think the segment's not even been defined yet. I think there's so much growth potential.
Yeah.
Because as Joe's pointed out, and I've seen it as well in my area, the recognition of what the Maverick is still slow to come out on mainstream. I think we know about it as journalists, you guys know about it as enthusiasts, but a lot of times the general public doesn't understand what it is. They've never seen it before. And so I think that there's a huge opportunity there, especially, for like brands that don't sell cars. To me, the Ford Maverick is basically a car. And that's fine. And I'm totally fine with that. I'm not saying anything negative about that. But it is basically the sedan from the old Taurus. It's like the old Taurus that's now a little small truck, and it fulfills the same role. And what I always love with we had a comment earlier about way early on this live stream. Somebody talked about how expensive trucks are and they're all crap now, kind of stuff. And I'm like, have you not seen the Ford Maverick? Like, it's been really reliable. It's got really good fuel economy, and it's under $30,000. Like, I understand that there's a lot of concern online about reliability, and there's a lot of people that will have concerns about that. What I thought was interesting when I talked to this engineer about it was disconnect between if an automaker fixes an issue, it doesn't become public knowledge they did that, and then people never see it being fixed, and the rumor mill keeps going, they're never going to fix the problem. When in fact, automakers are really quickly to fix issues, and they don't see those as being big problems online. But, for example, the 6.7 liter from Cummins, when it first came out in 2019, they had a bad batch of lifters. And they went to the supplier, they fixed the problem right away, they shut it down, they got it working right, and they sent it off. And you still see an issue here and there with the lifter issue. I've seen it online. I understand. I'm causing a lot of hate at the moment. But that's what they said they did. But because it came out right at launch, and that's been going on 6 years ago, it's still in people's minds that that's a problem. Still in people's minds that's what's going on. So,
well, I mean, it's like the Nissan CVT.
Yeah,
people still think they're bad.
Yeah, and they're like, why do you keep building this? It's so terrible. Why do you keep building it? Well, they don't see it that way. They don't
terrible anymore.
Right. So On the SUV side, I want to sure hit that before we get too much further. Which, by the way, I was looking at the Toyota Hilux interior. Sorry, I was like, no. This is you're right. This is bare bones, which is great. Some trucks are great bare bones. I love them, but yeah, that's a 2004. So that is that's the latest Hilux that the gentleman was looking for. Huh. Interesting. So SUVs, RAV4 is going to come out this year. That's kind of a no-brainer, kind of no secret. I'm not saying
it's going to come out this year. Isn't there a fire at the factory in Japan right now?
Yeah, it's killed a guy or something like that. Oh my God, they had a big fire in the factory in Japan. That's a big problem. RAV4 is coming out. We just said the GM Twins get refreshed a little bit with new engines and a few different features.
GMC Terrain.
The train's gonna come out this year, and they'll have more versions of the train coming out this year. They're supposed to lead with like one trim and add more trims. All right, Jill, off the top of your head, what are we doing here? CRV has been out.
I'm actually, and I'm probably the outlier here. I'm kind of looking forward to the Jeep Recon. That's going to be the all electric compact off roader. I think that is going to be interesting. I believe, I'm like, what else do I know that is coming that I can talk about? So here's the unfortunate thing. I collect all the new vehicles for the North American Car of the Year jury, and people have told me what's coming out. And I'm like, is that a known, or is that an unknown? No.
Tell us, Jill. Tell us all the details.
So I'm like, I was going to say something, and I'm like, I don't think people know about that yet. So there are definitely some SUVs that are coming that I'm excited about, but I don't know if I can mention them. I forget. I don't know if people know about them yet.
Speaking of vehicles coming out that we're going to start driving, Ford Expedition.
Yes.
There's coming an invite for that to Louisville, which, by the way, I'm determined to fly to my Lotus Scottsbluff. I drive into Denver. I like for this Ram truck.
Are you coming in on Monday?
I have 3 flights.
I have one flight, but like it's one flight a day, and I have to get in the day before.
I'm in the day before. Yeah, I'm in the day before.
So maybe you and I can do dinner.
Yeah. No. So this Ram event I was supposed to go to for like 24 hours in Laughlin, Nevada. I ended up spending a night in a hotel room in Denver on the way out and the way back. So it cost me like $260. Which, by the way, you guys need to watch the hell of those videos because I need to make the money back. But I just can't right now with where I'm at physically make those drives as much as I used to. And so I was determined to fly to Scottsbluff. So I leave Scottsbluff like at 9 in the morning, which is my local airport. It's a 30-minute jet flight to Denver. I get to Denver. I fly from Denver to O'Hare to Louisville, which you may be on the same flight.
Might be on the same flight.
Which, by the way,
well, maybe not because I asked to go a little bit later.
No, I don't land. So I leave at like 10 in the morning, whatever the deal is. I land in Louisville like at 8 p.m. that night, 8 or 9 p.m. that night.
You might be on the same flight then, because I feel like I'm on that same line.
Yeah, make sure you let me know your seat so I can move across the alley and down the.
Well, I'm going to be upgraded, so it'll be fine. I'll wave at you from first class with my free alcoholic beverage. I'll get what is it? Buffalo Trace, I think, is what they have.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, dagger in the heart.
Well, right. You who are drinking whiskey without me, suck it.
so yeah, Expedition. So I'll be really interested. I think that's going to be the interesting thing this year. Is it seems like every year there's kind of a theme in automotive, in that a couple years ago was full size trucks redone. There's a couple years was like maybe 2 years ago we had Ford Ranger was redone, Colorado was redone, Canyon was redone, Tacoma was redone. So we had all those midsize trucks redone. I think the 3-row SUV full size body and frame is going to be interesting. So we have Yukon, Tahoe, Armada I just drove, and we have the Ford Expedition, the Infiniti QX80 has been redone, and the Sequoia was just recently redone. And so it's like we have some fresh vehicles in that segment that are really interesting. And I just remind myself, people have been asking me questions whether I do the Armada over the Yukon or Tahoe, and I need to make sure I get that video done for those people because I definitely have some thoughts. But yeah, it is. This could be the year of the full 3-row SUV by end frame year.
Yeah, it, could be. And it's funny because Tyler asks if, Toyota will make a baby Land Cruiser or whatever. And, it's funny because I I caught an Inside EV article today, and I was gonna
I read the same
send it
one.
to you.
It's a
And
baby Land Cruiser and a EV truck is what it looks
yeah,
like.
and I haven't, like, that was the first I'd really heard of that, but we've seen pictures of an EV looking truck from Toyota.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's Europe only. Let's be clear, it's Europe only. It's they're looking at this stuff, but they're bringing back the CHR name and a
Plus.
EV. Is it plus?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
CHR Plus.
right. So I don't know. It's yeah. Andrew Cross once says, as someone who's looking for a 3/4 ton truck, I really would like to see a complete redesign from Ram before I make my decision within the next year. The 2025 Ram heavy duties are out. They'll be the same way till 2032 or something at this point. So
Yeah.
there won't be any change there. But he brings a good point because the Super Duty is finally coming out to dealerships and finally coming out media fleets. The GM last year did the 2500s, well, their heavy duties on both sides, and now we have Ram doing the heavy duties. So now we have all new heavy duties as well, or new or Andrew, new-ish. I will give you that. So I don't see that many changes happening there, but that's a really interesting segment. I've actually talked about buying one. I just don't know how much. I don't know if the channel is ready for that. I don't know how much viewers there is. And the problem with this business and doing this is that the 3/4 ton segment is very varied. There's a lot of different options you can choose from. It doesn't seem that way from the outsider viewpoint, but if you go dually, then you can't talk about single wheel, and you can do different trims and things. And I'd love a dually diesel. I think it'd be great. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on in that segment. So I find this next year is going to be, from my standpoint, it's going to be really fun to see more. I'm going to say it, more gas and diesel engines out there, and to see a little bit less EV focus. I think automakers are kind of either have put out their full EV lineup, or they're kind of shuffling things around. And I don't have a problem with EVs. EVs work in a lot of cases for a lot of people. Jill's a great example. Jill, and she would be a perfect EV person. I just, in my area, they don't work, and that's, you could make them work. They're just more difficult, I should say. So I'm excited to see more things. And I'm really excited for new GM twins. I really hope those get redone, because I really did like my Silverado. I couldn't stand driving it. It just hurt so bad. And so I'd like to see them get rid of that issue. Remember that, and I want to close this out on one thing. There was a question on the forum, on forum.pickuptrucktalk.com. I put out there, I was discussing some engineering questions. And one of the questions is from our friend Fight and Fire, who wanted to know why it took GM so long to change the seats and the seat comfort. He's like, did they not know that the seats were uncomfortable? And Jill, do you remember the awkward conversation with the engineer?
Yeah.
Oh, so let me set this up. So I went to we did a Colorado event, or ZR2 Colorado, I think it was, something like that. Maybe it was ZR2 event, whatever deal.
I think it was it the mid-cycle refresh for Colorado?
It was something like that.
Yeah.
And I had some questions. I wanted to get some things answered, and they were not answering my engine questions, which is, there's a lot of legal issues involved. That's why when automakers fix something, they can't really talk about it, because then they'd be admitting something is wrong, and then it goes to court, and it just, Ram told me they get sued every day. Like, it's just crazy what happens. And so I asked about seat comfort, and they were going to check on it. They checked on it. And so we went out to the vehicle and started talking about it. And the engineer who was there said, I checked on it. We didn't change anything with the seats. I'm like, well, didn't you know they're not comfortable? And she goes, well, I think they are pretty comfortable. I said, Jill and I were like, really?
How much time do you spend in this truck?
Well, it turns out she was in charge of seat development before her current job. It was a very awkward moment.
That's when you like take your foot and you're like,
yeah,
shove that in my mouth.
So that video didn't get to publication because it just the comments I could see coming from that. It was such an awkward thing, and I felt like if I put that video out with the way she said that, she's going to get a lot of really bad comments, and I don't want to put that out for her. I don't want to. I think people have this thought that we're not holding automakers all accountable. We're treating them too kindly, whatever. But they're real people too.
They are.
Like, it's like it's like we want to point out things that we think should be improved, and we want to be hard on them in certain areas. But if it's a single person and it's about a seat, I just didn't feel like it was good person ethics, morals I have to do that. Yeah. That was still like one of my top awkward moments of my entire career. Yeah. And Elliot points up a good point. He says it was probably hard for GM to know that about the uncomfortable seats if people are still buying their products. Yep.
Well, and so it's interesting because when I talked about the idea of taking Apple CarPlay away, I got into a little bit of a discussion on the forum where somebody was just like, well, they listen to their customers. I'm like, do they actually listen to their customers? Because if people are still buying their products, people are still buying their EVs, even though it doesn't have Apple CarPlay. Yeah. So if people are still buying their products, General Motors is going to be like, F it, let's just get rid of it in all of our products. And they have said that is the direction that they are going. And so as long as people are still shelling out the cash to buy the product, even without a feature or with something that is bad, General Motors is going to be like, complain all you want, but you're still paying me money. So whatever.
And that's a very frustrating thing that we run into is people will buy a vehicle and they'll email me like, did you know about this? I'm like, yeah, we've talked about it many times. We've talked about different videos. We've done reviews. Every review I've done, it's like I get tired of being the broken wheel. Like I'm not going to keep talking about GM seats in every single video for the rest of my life. It's like it's like come on. It's like I talked about this many times. Like if you don't understand, if you've never watched this channel, you don't understand how that works out. But yeah, it goes on. How do customers actually talk to manufacturers? Tyler says. I've never seen like an online survey as an owner. It was in that engineering video I put out a couple days, Tyler. You should see that one. He actually, as him and his team, are on forums all the time, and they actually read all the YouTube comments. We did a video on the lifters based on the YouTube comments on the Ram 6.7 liter Cummins walk around we did, and they have it. And I didn't get it on camera, but he told me afterwards they have a Slantis Cares team, which is basically an entire department within the company that all they do is get online. They literally get online and they have AI that searches for any sort of keywords, and then they read all the comments. Yeah, it's definitely that's the way it is.
Well, and it's like just when I think nobody is listening to me, like in my reviews, like I'll be at an event and somebody will come up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, by the way, there's a release in the underfloor storage of the Hyundai Santa Cruz because of you." I'm like, yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. And they're like, yeah, the engineers were going to get rid of it, but they're like, who's actually going to climb into this space? And they're like, have you met Jill Simonello?
you all day long.
So, I mean, it's like literally like you think you're just, and nobody hears you. But the more that we talk about it, the more that we comment, and the more like, we try to bring light to what problems you're having, the more they hear it and the more they, I think, listen. So they do pay attention. They do hear the comments, and, now that AI is out there, I mean, they're going to hear you even more. And so, commenting on forums and, having conversations with, I mean, maybe not me and Tim, but somebody like us who can, magnify your voice. It all helps. It all makes a difference, I like to think.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think I've always felt like this. I'm not sure how you felt like this. My goal is to make the vehicle better for consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be the vehicle they put out today, but maybe the next generation will be better based on my feedback. And I feel really strong about the seats. Like maybe when the seats come out, I hope they're supportive, but also comfortable. And I hope that future customers are going to benefit from having the nicer, more comfortable seats. That's kind of what I feel. All right. It's that time. It's been an hour. That's enough. I'm done. Finito. See ya.
And it sounds like my husband just got home too, so we got to go make dinner.
Yeah, go make dinner. All right. So for both of us, as always, thanks for watching. We will see you down the road.